Dear students, in this session of simplification of context-free grammar, we will discuss the removal of unit productions. We have discussed total 4 kinds of simplification, and this is the last one, fourth one, that is the removal of unit productions. Before discussing it, we will first discuss what do we mean by unit productions. So all the productions of the form capital A to capital B, where both A and B belongs to Vn, means both A and B are variables. So variable to a variable, if we have a production of this particular form, that will be called as the unit production. So all the productions of the form A to B, where A and B both belongs to the set of variables, is called unit production. Now, why we want to remove the unit productions? We want to remove the unit productions because unit production does not do anything useful in our grammar. This we will prove through an example. Just look at this example where the grammar G is containing 4 variables S, A, B and C. So S, A, B and capital C, these are the variables. Okay. And there is only one terminal, that is the small a. If our productions are like S to capital A, capital A to capital B to capital C, then capital C to small a. If you analyze this grammar, you can easily understand the language of this particular grammar is nothing but a single word A. We will start from S, we are bound to take S to A. So we will reach to the variable A. So variable S will get replaced by the variable A. Then for A productions, we are bound to take this production capital A to capital B. So A will get replaced by the capital B. Then B will get replaced by the capital C. And then capital C will replace the small a. So in this manner, from S we will be deriving only a single word A. Nothing else can be derived. So such a simple language it is. If rather than this, we take another grammar, say G1, which is having only the productions capital S to small a. Then L of G1, the language of this particular grammar G1 is also the similar one, which was the LG. It is also containing a single word A. If we look at, if we compare these two grammars, what we are doing? Production number 1, S to A, production number 2, A to B, production number 3, B to C. These 3 productions are just useless productions. What they are doing, they are just replacing the variable S by the variable C. Okay, so ultimately we have to reach to the variable C, and to find a terminal string, we will use this production of C, that is C to small a, then we will find our terminal string. Okay, so these 3 productions, which are of the form of unit productions, variable to variable, so S to A to B and B to C, are just useless. So rather than we can simply write capital S to small s. So these all productions are useless production. So as unit productions does not do anything useful in the derivation of a terminal string in any context-free grammar. So we want to remove these unit productions. Now there is one theorem that says if capital G is a context-free grammar, we can always find another context-free grammar, say G2. Suppose we call this new grammar as G2, which has no null productions and unit productions. Means whatsoever grammar we will make, that grammar will not having the null productions and it will also not having the unit productions, such that L of G2 is equal to L of G. Okay. Now in this theorem, actually we were to remove only the unit productions. Why null productions have also come here? In previous session, we have already discussed that when we remove the null productions from a grammar, it may give rise to many unit productions as well. It is because whenever we have a nullable variable on the right hand side of any production, then during the process of removal of null productions, we once keep that nullable variable and once we remove that nullable variable. So because of this, because we remove certain nullable variables, so it is possible that on right hand side there exists only a single variable. So it is possible that it may give rise, the removal of null productions may give rise to the unit productions. Okay. So whenever we remove the unit productions from the grammar, we always first remove all the null productions in the grammar if present, because whatever unit productions has to rise. This removal of null productions will give rise to it, and then we will remove all the unit productions. So whenever we remove unit productions, we always first remove the null productions if they are present in the grammar. If there is no null production present in the grammar, then we can directly come to the method of removal of the unit production. Otherwise, we'll first have to remove the null productions, and then we have to come to the process of removing unit productions. Now come on the procedure of removing the unit productions. So as I have already told you, that first step in this procedure will be the removal of unit productions. So first step in this, suppose our original grammar G is Vn, sigma, P and S. Then the first step, step 1, will be the removal of null productions from the grammar if they are present. If null productions are not present, we will directly switch to the step 2 of the procedure. Okay. Now what we will be doing in this removal of null productions? Just to recap, our first phase will be find a G dash such that it is Vn, sigma, P dash and S, and L of G dash will be equal to Lg minus null. Okay. So we will find it. Okay. Then second part is we will decide whether null belongs to Lg or not. Third part is if null does not belongs to Lg, then G dash, which we have found, will be the final grammar before going to the step 2. Otherwise, if L of G dash, if null belongs to Lg, then we will find another grammar G1. This grammar will be G1 such that we can include null into the language. So it will be Vn1, sigma, P1 and S1. So it is because of the introduction of new start symbol S1. So that's why set of variables will change and the set of productions will change. Only the set of terminals will remain same, such that L of G1 is equal to L of G. Okay. So simply we have to first check if null productions are not present, then we will directly go to the step 2. If null productions are present, then we will look at we will look at whether Lg dash, which we have found in the first step, that is equal to Lg minus null, that is the final grammar or not. And this we will decide by deciding whether null belongs to Lg or not. If null does not belongs to Lg, then it simply means that this Lg dash is equal to Lg. But if null belongs to Lg, then Lg dash is Lg minus null. Okay, then we have to include null into it. So after including null into it, we will find the grammar G1 such that L of G1 is equal to L of G. So this is the step 1. Now we will be moving to the step 2, in which we will remove the unit productions. Now through the step 1, we have converted our original grammar G into the G dash or G1. If null does not belongs to Lg, then we will convert it to G dash. If null belongs to Lg, then we will convert it to ultimately G1. If there is no null production, then we will be having original grammar G, and then we will be performing this step 2. Okay. So whether we have the grammar G with us, we have the grammar G dash with us, or we have the grammar G1 with us, over this we have to follow this step 2. That this step 2 is the construction of set of variables derivable from A only through unit productions. So this is our step 2. We will again construct a set. We will call this set as W of A. So suppose there is a variable A, either from the grammar G, G dash or G1, whatever grammar we are having from the step 1. Okay. So we take one variable from that particular grammar, and for that particular variable, we will construct a set of variables which are derivable from that variable only through the unit productions. Okay. And this work we will perform for every variable present in the grammar under the procedure. Okay. So we have taken one variable A. So our first step in this step 2 will be the construction of W1. So we'll find W1 of A, and W1 of A will always be A. Okay, because every variable is reachable from itself without any production, so A will be included. So we will always start with this step W1 of A will be equal to A. Then from W1 we will find W2, from W2 we will find W3, and so on up till we can increase the that particular set. Okay. So we will in this second step we will say, in this B step we will say that how we can find Wi plus 1 of A with the help of Wi of A. Okay. So if we are having W1 of A with us, we can find W2 of A with the help of this W1 of A. Okay. So Wi plus 1 of A is equal to Wi of A union, means in Wi plus 1 of A, all the variables which are present in the Wi of A will also be present here. And additionally, we will include some additional variables. What those additional variables will be? So those additional variables will be all variables B belonging to Vn, means so all variables B such that C to B is in P. So we have to look at the unit productions present in our grammar. Whatsoever grammar is under consideration, whether it is G, it is G dash, or it is G1. So whatsoever grammar is under consideration, in that grammar, we will look for the unit productions. And we will have to look at the unit productions such that C belongs to Wi of A. So Wi of A, at whatsoever step we have formed it, so we'll look at the variables in that particular grammar. If any of those variables is having unit production, so that's why I'm saying C to B is in P and C belongs to Wi of A. Okay, so agar C belongs to Wi of A, then we have to take its right hand side. So whatsoever variable is on the right hand side of that particular production, that variable B will also be included into the Wi plus 1. So in this manner, we will be forming our Wi plus 1 of A with the help of Wi of A. So with the help of W1 of A, we will form W2 of A. If we can further expand, then with the help of W2 of A, we will find W3 of A. And in the similar manner up till we can expand. Okay. And from this definition, we can again see as per the previous constructions also, that Wi of A will be a subset of Wi plus 1 of A, because we are always finding Wi plus 1 of A with the help of Wi of A. And it will also be a subset of Vn, because all the elements either in the W1 or Wi, any of the Wi plus 1, we are including from the set of variables only. So it will be a subset of set of variables. Okay. Now here I have written Vn. So if we are working with the original grammar G, there is no null production present. So then it will be Vn. If we have converted it to G dash, then also it will be Vn. If we have converted it to the G1, then it will be Vn1. So whatsoever grammar is under consideration in this step 2, we have to take variables from that, and it will be the subset of that. Okay. If this is the situation, again we can find a situation that Wk of A is equal to Wk plus 1 of A for some k which lesser than or equal to the cardinality of Vn, because Vn is finite. So, and we are continuously increasing our set Wi. So it can increase up to a limit. Okay. So there will be some situation when we will find that Wk of A is equal to Wk plus 1 of A, and certainly this we can do in lesser number of steps than the cardinality of Vn. Okay. And whenever we find such a situation, in that case, this Wk of A will be treated as W of A. Okay. So this Wk of A, or we can call it as W of A, it is the set of all variables which are derivable through A only through the unit productions. Okay. So that was our purpose, construction of a set of variables derivable from A only through unit production. So this W of A will consist of all the variables which can be derived from A only through unit production. And this work we have to do for all the variables present in the grammar under consideration, whether it is G, G dash or G1. As in the previous step, step 2, I have found Wa for each variable A in our grammar G1, which is the grammar under consideration. I have already told many times that it may be either G1 or it may be G dash or it may be the original grammar G, as the case may be. Okay. So we have found Wa for each variable in that particular grammar. Now I will be finding the productions of A in the final grammar which will be forming, which will not be having any unit production. Say that grammar is G2. I am saying that grammar is G2. So certainly that G2 will be equal to V of N1, because it will not change any set of variables. It will not include any variable. It will not reduce any variable. So it will be Vn1, because G1 has the set of variables Vn1. The same set of variable will be here. Sigma will be same and S1 will be same, because S1 is the start symbol of G1. So start symbol will also be same. Only thing is set of productions will change. So I am calling this set of production as P2. Now what productions of each variable A will be included in this P2. So now in the step 3 we will construct the product A productions in G2, or we can say in P2. Okay, so we will construct these A productions. So A productions in G2 are either come from A or come from B. A is all non-unit productions of capital A in G1. Means the grammar under consideration G1. We will look at that particular grammar and we will look for the productions of A. So we will leave all the unit productions of A and we will take all the non-unit productions of A. And we will include these all non-unit productions of A in G2 as well. Okay. We'll leave all the unit productions and we will include all the non-unit productions of A into the G2, into our final grammar. Then second B is, we will include productions of the form A to alpha. We'll include some more productions of the form A to alpha. Now, how we'll choose alpha? Wherever B to alpha is in G1 and with B belonging to W of A and alpha does not belong to V. When we say alpha does not belong to Vn1, it means alpha cannot be a variable. Means right hand side of the production cannot be a variable. Okay. And B belongs to WA means, B belongs to WA, what does it mean? It simply means the variable which is present in WA. Okay. What variables are present in WA? All the variables which are derivable from A only through unit production. So it is a set of all those variables. So means we have to look at the productions of those variables which are derivable from A only through unit productions. And when we are looking at the production of such a variable B, I have to look at non-unit production, because alpha cannot belong to Vn1. So I have to look at the non-unit productions. So it simply means I will look at the non-unit productions of all the variables which are present in the WA. Okay, I will take those non-unit productions and I will make those non-unit production of other variables as the non-unit production of A. Okay, so I will take their right hand side and I will put that right hand side after A. So in this manner, I will be forming some more A productions which will be the part of this P2 or this our final grammar. So in this manner, our process will complete. This we will be doing for each variable A in the grammar. So when we find the productions of all the grammars, so our grammar production of all the variables, then our grammar will be free of unit production, because we are at every step we are leaving all the unit productions and we are taking only the non-unit productions. Now to understand the process we have just explained, we are taking one example. Our example grammar G is having some variables S, A, B, C, D and E, and some terminals small a, small b, a set of production P which is given by these productions, and S is the start symbol. Okay, these productions are capital S to AB, capital A to small a, capital B to capital C, or capital B to small b, capital C to capital D to capital E, and capital E to small a. We are looking that there are various unit productions present here. Okay, and if you look at this grammar does not have any null productions present. Okay, as this grammar does not have any null productions present, so we need not to do the step 1, which was the removal of null productions. Okay, if our grammar, our productions have certain null productions, then we have to remove those null productions and we have to perform the step 1 as well. Okay. So as our grammar does not contain any null productions, so we will be directly going to the step 2, which is the main step for removing the unit productions. So as per the step 2, first we have to form W of each variable present in this grammar. Okay, so we will find W of S, W of A, W of B, W of C, W of D, and W of E. So first of all, we are finding W of S. So we will start with W1 of S, and as per our process, W1 of S is nothing but the S. Then we will look at the unit productions of this variable S. Because S does not have any unit production. Okay, so nothing new will be added. So W2 will also be equal to the same. So that's why it will become W of S. So W1 of S will become the W of S. So it is a final set of variables. So it simply says S is a variable which do not derive any variable through the unit productions. So it does not have any unit production. Then similarly, we will try to find W of A. So W of A, I'm not writing W1, W2 and so on. So it is W1 of A, it is equivalent to A. Okay. Then I will look at the unit productions of this A. A does not have any unit production, so nothing new will be added here. So it means W2 of A will also be equal to the same one. So W1 of A is equal to W2 of A. So that's why it will become W of A. Then similarly, I will find W1 of B. It is equal to B. Okay. Now I have to find W2 of B. So W1 of B is already included in W2 of B. So it is B. Okay. Now I have to look at the unit productions of B. Does B have any unit production? Yes. It is having a unit production here, capital B to capital C. So I will consider this unit production and its right hand side variable will be included here as per our process. So C will be included here. So now it is W2. Now with the help of W2, I will form W3. So W3 will include all the variables which are present in the W2. Okay. Now I will look at the newly added variable C, its unit productions. If C has any unit production or not. Yes, C also have a unit production, capital C to capital D. So I will include its right hand side also. So capital D will be included here. Now again I have included one more variable. So I will go further. So I will try to find W4. So W4 will contain all the variables present in W3. Okay. And then I will look at the unit productions of this newly added variable D. So D to E is a unit production. So E will also be included here. Okay. Then I have added a new variable. So I will try to find W5. Okay. And for this W5, I will look at the productions of E. So capital E has any unit production or not? No, it does not have any unit production. Capital E to small a is a production, but on the right hand side there is a single symbol, but that symbol is not a variable. So that's why it is not a unit production. So I will stop here. So means W4 and W5 B are same. So in this case, this will work as the W of B. So in this similar manner, we will find the W of each variable. So we have found up till B. Now we will found WC. So WC will be equal to C. And then I have to look at the unit productions of C, C to D. So D will be included. Then I have to look at the unit productions of D. Yes, D to E. E is a unit production. So E is also included. And E does not have any unit production. So my process will stop here. Okay. So W of C is equal to C, D and E. In this similar manner, W of D will be equal to, first of all, I will include D, and then D has unit production to E. So I will include E, and then E does not have any unit production. So I will stop here. And then W of E is equal to E, and I will look at the unit productions of E. There is no unit production of E, so it will stop here. So in this manner, I have found W of each variable. So first step of this process is completed. Now I will go to the second step, that is the construction of the productions of these variables in the new grammar. Okay. So I will take these one by one. First of all, I will come to the S. So I will look at the productions of S. So there is only one production of S here, that is S to AB. Is it a unit production? No, it is not a unit production. So that's why it will be included. So I will include S to A, B here. Okay, so this I am forming nothing but the P2. the final set of the productions in my final grammar G2. Okay. Then I will look at the productions of A. Okay. Production of A. So there is no unit production of A. There is only the non-unit productions of A. So it will also be included as it is. Capital A to small. Then I will come on the productions of B, third variable. Okay. So B to small b is a non-unit production. So first I will include all the non-unit productions of B. So B to small b is a non-unit production. Then other productions of B are the unit productions. So I don't have to include the unit productions. But because W of B has certain more variables in this set also. Okay. So if any of these variable has the non-unit production, so I will take that non-unit production also into the consideration. Now I will look at C. Does C have any non-unit production here? No. C has only the unit production. It does not have any non-unit production. Then I will look at the another variable, D. D is also having only the unit production. It does not have any non-unit production. But this E here has a non-unit production, capital E to small a. Okay. So the right hand side of this non-unit production, I have to make this the right hand side of the original variable B. Okay. So right hand side is small a, and left hand side I am considering it for the variable capital B. So I will make it the right hand side of the capital variable B as per the definition. So I will include the production capital B to small. Okay. So in this manner, this will be included. So I have considered all the productions of all the variables which are present in this set WB. Similarly, I will be doing it for C. When I will be going for C, I do not have any non-unit production. So nothing will be added from the step A. Now, from the step B, I have to look at the productions of the other variables present here in this WC. So that is D and E. For D, I am not having any non-unit production, but for E, I am having a non-unit production. So its right hand side will be made the right hand side of the variable C. So simply I will be including a production capital C to small a in the similar manner as I have added capital B to small. Is it? Then come on because I have processed all the variables present in the WC. Now I will come to the next variable, capital D. So in the similar manner, capital D will also include small a, and then for capital E, I am having a non-unit production already present. Okay. So capital E to small a. So this will be the P2, and my grammar G2 will be nothing but, so this will be G2 will be equal to, all these variables are present in this grammar also as A, B, C, D and E. So set of variable will not change as I have told you. Okay. So S, A, B, C, D and E. So these are the set of variables. Set of terminals will not change. Small a and small b. And the set of production is now this one, P2. So P2. Now what is the start symbol? Its start symbol will be the similar as of the original grammar. So original grammar was having start symbol S. So this is also having the start symbol S. So in this manner, I have found this G2. And here P2 is defined by this set of productions. Okay. So in this manner, we can remove all the unit productions from the grammar. Now you look at this grammar, we are not having any unit production. S to AB, it is a non-unit. A to small a, it is non-unit. B to small b, it is a non-unit because it is the terminal, it is not the variable. B to small a, it is non-unit. C to small a, D to small a, E to small a. So no production is the no production is the unit production. We are having only the non-unit productions in our grammar. So in this manner, we have removed all the unit productions. Now we look at whether both the grammars are representing the same language or not. Just analyze this. What language this can represent? S to AB. Then A will surely derive small a, and then B will either derive capital C or small b. So when B will derive small b, the word small AB will be there. So AB will be a word in this language. Okay. And the second possibility was rather than replacing this capital B by small b, we replace this capital B by capital C. Okay. Then if we replace it by capital C will be replaced by capital D will be replaced by capital E, and then ultimately capital E will replace by small a. So the word will become AA. So this language of this grammar contains only two words, AB and AA. Now look here. S to AB. Okay. A is bound to derive A. Okay. So first letter will always be A. Then B will derive either the small b or the small a. So when it will derive small b, the word will be AB. When it will derive small a, the word will be AA. Nothing else we can derive from it. Okay. So the same language, this grammar will also derive. But now you look at capital C, capital D and capital E. These have become the variables which are never reachable. So whenever we remove the unit production, it will not reduce any variable, but it will make certain variables which are useless symbols then. Okay. So we have to put further steps for simplifying it. Now I will be telling you the sequence in which these simplification processes should be applied to simplify a grammar. Up till now we have discussed 4 kinds of simplification of the grammar. Now in what sequence these simplification steps should be performed to simplify a particular grammar. So for simplifying a CFG, we should first of all perform removal of the null productions. Why? Because the removal of the null production may give rise to the unit productions. Okay. And then as a second step, we should perform the removal of unit productions. Why? Because when we remove unit productions, we have seen that it may produce or it may generate or it may make some of the variables useless. Some of the variables which will never be reachable, or there may be some of these symbols which do not derive a terminal string. Okay. So removal of variables. So next step will be the removal of variables that do not derive any terminal string. And then next step will be the removal of the symbols, that is the variables and terminals, which do not appear in any centennial form or the working string. So this should be the sequence of performing the steps of the simplification. Now this we have to look at whether a particular step has to be performed or not. Suppose the first one, removal of null production. If there is no null production present in the grammar, then obviously we can skip this particular step. We can directly go for the removal of unit production. Suppose there is no unit production present, then we can skip this step as well, and we can go to the next one. Okay. And these two steps we have to always perform, because without performing these steps, we will not be able to know which variables do not derive any terminal string or which symbols do not appear in any centennial form. Although with experience we can analyze the grammar and find which variables do not derive terminal strings and which symbols do not appear in any centennial form in simple grammars. But if our grammar is quite complex, then just by analyzing, finding such variables or symbols is not possible. So it is only possible through the algorithm. Okay. So this was all I wanted to discuss in the simplification of the grammar. Our simplification of grammar is over. Thank you.